That brings us to the Texas A&M Aggies, another team that Marsh's Miami Hurricanes ended their season last year. Miami Hurricanes were really the SEC slayer once we got to the college football playoff. Unfortunately, they ran into a Big Ten team, the Big Boy League, at the very end. But if they could have just kept playing SEC teams, they may never lose again, right, Marsh? No, the Aggies, that was it wasn't a very well played, pretty game in the first round of the playoffs last year, but it was a tight game. It was a highly contested, very physical ball game between two pretty good defenses. I, for one, love Mike Elko, and it's not just because Brian Doherty's brother, Pat, is at Texas A&M, and he's brought Pat along from Duke to A&M with him. Pat is the special teams coordinator. And when I listen to Mike Elko talk, he just seems like the kind of coach that's just down to earth, very transparent, very kind of blue collar, just a football guy, right? A college football coach in the truest sense of the words. So I'm a big Mike Elko fan and supporter. I don't love Marcel Reed and what he brings to the table outside of his running production. I'll pitch it over to Max first on this one, since his team was fortunate enough to take out this team last year to end their season. So Marsh, I'm sure you studied up on the Aggies last year leading up to that playoff game. They bring back some, but add quite a bit of new guys as well. But what do you think about the Aggies? Do you think that they improve or fall off from where they were last year as a first round CFP exit type of team?
Yeah, so with Texas A&M, Marcel Reed coming back is the biggest piece here. I personally am with you, Nard. I think Marcel Reed doesn't really move the needle much for me. I think just in college in particular, having the experience back and having a playmaker like him is obviously a huge plus when it comes to these teams, especially with the portal and kind of the continuity aspect. But I think a lot of what Colin Klein did last year was make it so that there was a very clear read on every play for him. I don't think he's a drop back, see the field, get to his third progression type quarterback. And we saw a lot of that when Miami kind of forced them to make those additional reads in the college football playoff and resulting in them only scoring 3 points. So for me, I don't believe Marcel Reed can get them to the national championship. I do believe that Mike Elko is a great coach, to your point. I just think they have too many pieces to replace. I mean, you look at the wide receivers and Casey Concepcion being gone. They had running back leave as well. Obviously, Cassius Howe. There was just too many massive names that didn't get massive replacements. And I think Isaiah Horton is a great wide receiver. I watched him at Miami. I watched him at Alabama. He's very veteran savvy and knows how to make plays on the ball. He's caught a lot of touchdowns. But he doesn't have that KC Concepcion element, Mario Craver may try to bring to the table in that aspect. But for me, I think Texas A&M is kind of ho-hum, middle of the pack. I think their coaching staff gets them more wins than anticipated. But I look at that 8.5 number, and it's a little scary for me. We can touch more on that. But Mike Elko, huge fan, to your point. Marcel Reed, I'm not convinced is the guy.
Ryan, the way I'm going to pitch it over to you here is, when I'm looking at the coaching staff and kind of what Elko has done this past offseason, they lose Colin Klein. He takes the head coaching job at Kansas State. They're replacing their defensive coordinator as well. But instead of going out and making sexy, splash, expensive hires for the coordinator roles, they decided to promote within. They go with Holman Wiggins on the offensive side of the ball and Lyle Hemphill on the defensive side of the ball. Kind of a surprising move for Texas A&M, the program that they're still paying Jimbo Fisher like $28 million a year, I think. To me, they're the type of program that goes out and gets a Jim Knowles like Tennessee did, right? They bring in kind of a big recognizable name instead of promoting within. I don't think any of us really know a ton about Holman Wiggins or Lyle Hemphill and what their plan is for tweaks and adjustments to the offense or defense, respectively. But do you like kind of that more, let's promote within, let's build within, we've got a foundation, these guys have been in the system, they've been under these coordinators that have now taken other bigger jobs in other places? Or do you think it was not necessarily the right move for a program that is at this tier and trying to get to even the next tier in college football?
I give Elko the benefit of the doubt. he definitely seems like he has a style of a guy he wants around. I don't think he wants someone that's too splashy. He has a way he likes stuff done, and I think he probably found two guys on his staff that he likes how they did business and just promoted within. I'm confident just because I'm confident in him. I don't think he would just make the hire or accept just an internal hire because that's what was available. I think he's the type of guy that is going to find who he thinks is the best fit for the team. And he obviously thought that the guys that within are best. It can work to his advantage. They've gotten better each year he's been there. I think they continue to do that. I'm kind of on the opposite side of Max. I look at the 8.5 number and I love it. I think that this team starts the season 10-0. I really do. I think they have a tough end of the season with Oklahoma and Texas. I look at Elko. I look at Reed. I think he's going to make an improvement. I think the defense continues to get better. I'm all in on Texas A&M. This is probably the team at the top half of the SEC. I will make the most preseason bets on. I'm over 8.5. I think I'm going to do win the SEC at plus 850. I think that's worth a bet. And I think make the college football playoff at plus 154 right now is also worth a bet. So I'm all in with Texas A&M. I think Elko continues to get this program to the college football playoff almost every year.
I like you calling your shot there. Marsh, you had a reaction?
I don't disagree with that. I think the offensive line stability is going to be an issue, but schedule-wise, they've got one of the better schedule setups for sure, and opponents when we look at the SEC schedules. For you to say they start 10-0, Brian, I mean, that's a very viable take. They've got at LSU late September, but then I think until late October, they don't play anybody. So they're at Alabama the 24th, then at South Carolina November 7th, and then Tennessee, Oklahoma, Texas to finish the season, which realistically, you got to beat the Alabamas and Tennessees of the world. And to your point, it's going to come down to at Oklahoma, November 21st is going to be a hell of a game. There's probably going to be a lot of implications late in the season in both of those games between Oklahoma and Texas. I think the 8.5 number, you're right. I think get the fact that it's plus 100, it's not even minus odds. Looking at this schedule, I would be in agreement on that. It's worth a flyer to win the SEC too, just because they get their two toughest games, the last two games of the season. So they should really have all the kinks worked out at that point too. But Marcel Reed, you're right. He should take the leap there or go to the next level under Elko. I don't know that I'm a believer in his mental capacity to do so. He's got all the physical traits, but he struggles to see the field, I think. So if Elko can get him to raise the bar on that front, I would be in agreement with pretty much most of what you said.
I think I'm more bearish than you two. I think that they are 6-2 heading into that last month of the season. I think they lose at LSU and I think they lose at Alabama. And then they still have an opportunity. They got the last month of the season to win 4 big games, right? Which would include road kills against Lenore Sellers in South Carolina and then Oklahoma, who we're going to get into next. Then they got to beat Tennessee and Texas at home. You know, that's a really tough last month of the season. If they can get to that month at 7-1, I'd feel a lot more confident in their CFP yes bet of plus 155. I think just chalking up at Alabama and at LSU as wins is dangerous and not something I'd be willing to do. Just given 2 new coordinators, the offensive line, Billy Lucci, I heard him talk when he was down here in Tampa at Media Days a few weeks ago. Sounds like he is very bullish on the offensive line and what they're going to be able to rebuild to protect Marcel Reed a little bit better. So he's pretty dialed in and a very good source on A&M news and takes. So I'll trust him on the offense. But I don't know. Marcel Reed going into Death Valley, going into Tuscaloosa and beating Alabama and LSU. I don't see both of those wins happening, if either of them. So I'm gonna be a stay away for the Aggies. But if I had to gun to my head, I'd probably take that under 8.5 number at minus 120. I think the schedule's tougher than you guys are making it sound on the surface with your kind of more bullish takes here.
Yeah, I think just giving Alabama and LSU as a win is maybe a little ahead of myself, but maybe I'll try it. Maybe I'll try that with FanDuel and see if they'll just count those as wins before the season.
All right, guys.